Thank you, General Lyons, and appreciate your bringing up that issue. We spent a lot of time on the Defense Authorization Bill addressing that, and I think you're carrying it out exactly as we had intended you to do that. As I mentioned, General Walters, we appreciate the briefing that we got in Germany. And you covered something I think it might be worth repeating here. In October 2019, the news report suggested that Russia deployed as many as 10 submarines for some of the largest fleet maneuvers since World War II. Can you describe, as you did this last week, how the pace and scope of Russia's maritime activity has changed in recent years and what implications that has for EUCOM?
Yes, Chairman. We took note of the Russian undersea activity in the summer, fall of 2018 and compared it to what Russia executed in the summer of 19, fall of 19. And what we saw was a 50% increase in the number of resources in the undersea that Russia committed to both those out-of-area submarine patrol operations. But what we also witnessed was an improved degree of good order and discipline on behalf of the Russian sailors. So this observation is one more reflection about how important it is to continue to improve our competitive edge, to buy down the risk, to ensure that we can operate with freedom.
Okay, that's good. And on that same trip, we went through Rota, Spain, when they were talking about that they're adding the 2 U.S. destroyers to the 4 that are already there. Is that something you support? And would that be, where does that fall into your, what level of request do you have for additional forces in EUCOM?
Chairman, it's precisely in line with our request for 2 additional destroyers. And what I'm also proud to report, with the support of this committee through EDI, we've been in a position to where we've been able to improve and mature the infrastructure at Rota. If you asked me to accept 2 more destroyers tomorrow, we actually possess the infrastructure at Rota to be able to house those 2 additional destroyers, a reflection of the value of the funds for deterrence.
Yeah, they made that very clear. All right, General Lyons, I commented in my opening statement about the KC-46 and that some of us went from here in Washington up to Seattle to fly the first ones down to Altus Air Force Base. And I remember at that time we had the Secretary of the Air Force, Deborah James, were there. And I recall making an observation, and that was that in 1959, 2 wonderful things happened. Number one, I got married. And number 2, the first KC-140 were actually delivered to Altus Air Force Base. And at that time, we didn't know that there was any problem. At least I didn't know. And I don't think anyone else did either, because we were just rejoicing. The fact that that had lasted 60 years, and she even commented, it looks like that's going to enhance the prosperity of Altus Air Force Base for the next 60 years. So that was something that really was we were not aware of. And so now you got a problem. And that problem, of course, is what are we going to do to fill that function? And I know that you've given a lot of thought to it. And once you let us know where you are right now, you know, we've been doing this for years, getting rid of old things before we got the new ones online ready to perform. So kind of tell us where we are. What's that going to do with the preparations that we've already made for the KC-135s and the KC-10s to actually be downgraded?
Chairman, thanks. As you mentioned in your opening comments, aerial refueling as a force element is the most stressed force element in the TRANSCOM portfolio, both for day-to-day operations as well as for high-end conflict operations. And I'll defer to the Air Force on the particular programmatics and technical aspects of the KC-46 as it comes online.
Yeah, and I mentioned that to you before this meeting, that we'll be having the Air Force's posture hearing, and we want to talk about that at that time too.
Yes, sir. And what I can describe is operationally, as we bring the KC-46 on and we take on more jets and we convert more crews, when that capability is not usable and it's not today presentable to the Joint Force for some technical deficiencies, that means a dip in operational capability for the Joint Force in day-to-day operations in the active component. as if in fact we continue to retire the KC-135 and the KC-10 at the rate that was proposed by the Air Force. So we're working very, very closely with the Air Force and the Department to retain a level of capability, of legacy capability, so that you can continue to support joint operations.
So you are retaining some that you had not planned on retaining had we not had the problem with the KC-46, I assume.
Sir, we're working with the Air Force now. There were some number of planes that were retired, were programmed for retirement in FY21, as you saw in the budget submission, that we believe must be retained. 13 KC-135s and 10 KC-10s that we believe must be retained during the conversion.
That's good. Senator